Okay, I think we are live, sister.
You think we are live?
I think, therefore I am.
Okay. I have this
So wait,
here.
let's get our thing. Let's go there. Let's go there. Okay, we are live.
We are live. Hello, my friends. Welcome to Cooking with Gloria. I want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of my family. And I want to wish you guys happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and of course, Happy New Year's. But today, we are here to answer some questions. I know that a lot of you want to know why my masa for tamales doesn't float. How many tamales can I get from that measurement of the masa? You know, you always have questions for me, and yes, I am here to answer them. I am here because I really love you guys leaving those beautiful messages telling me that I remind you of your grandma, I remind you of your mother, I remind you of your aunt. You go back when I make these amazing recipes. You go back to your past and you remember. You remember and you say sometimes I remember when my mother used to make this delicious dumpling soup. I remember when my mom used to make this delicious salsa, or when they were preparing the tamales, the masa for tamales.
I think, of course, hi everybody. My name is Carlos. I'm Gloria's brother, and we are partners in crime.
Yes.
We started this channel together. I was, of course, helping her with background, do some of the things, but I've been keeping up with the messages as well. And I was telling my sister's like, I get some of these really nice messages of people saying that I remind them of their grandma's cooking, the way grandma used to prepare those tamales, and they want to learn to make them again, or they've never made tamales and they decide to make them, and then everybody at work loves them. And my sister's like, I feel so happy when I see them do that. She's like, because I remember, she's like, putting up a stool near the kitchen to see everybody cooking, and I used to be like just barely making it over the counter, watching them mix the tamal or making the tamal, and they wouldn't let her near it until she was old enough. She regretted it later, but she's like, and I think that's so awesome. She's like making them remember and also inspiring them to try it again, because that's the best thing you can do.
This is the best part, Carlos. When you go into the kitchen and you start making a recipe and it takes you back to your childhood, you know, that's when you really take that moment and you start remembering everything that you used to see. I remember when I was small, I used to see my mom and my sisters, you know, start mixing the masa with their hands and making sure that it was nice and fluffy, adding enough lard. And I remember just looking, you know, watching it. My mom could say, "Don't, make sure that you don't put your hands in there. Make sure you just, you know, you can look, but don't touch anything. Just watch." And I remember all those moments. And now I really recommend, if you have small kids at home, invite them in the kitchen. Have them help you so these traditions and these recipes continue in generation to generation.
And if you're just connecting to them, that's also really good.
Yes.
Good job on coming back to your roots, or just being or loving the Spanish or Latino culture. That's amazing as well, because I know some people that do amazing tamales and they are definitely not Latinos, and they do such a great job. I've seen a lot of gentlemen who have such good taste, good sazon in their
Oh my
flavor.
God! I've been noticing a lot of my followers that make the salsas. You know, I was telling my brother, I don't know if I should make salsas in this channel. I you know, I don't know. I said, and she goes, no, make salsas, tacos. Let's start in the English channel, because I made my first channel in Spanish.
And what is that channel called?
Gloria en la Cocina. And then we decided, let's go and do it in English, and let's see if I get followers. And thank you so much for being part of my family.
And my sister used to say, like, no, because I don't speak Spanish well, and I don't speak English well. And I was like, but that we were raised speaking English. You know, the only time we ever spoke Spanish was at home. Our mother did not let us speak any English at home, but everywhere else she would say anywhere else you can speak English, but here at the house you're gonna speak Spanish because I don't want you to forget how to speak Spanish.
I know that was really
and
hard for
that's
us.
its own story because my mom, of course, is indigenous to Mexico. Her mother was indigenous in Mexico and from the part of Michoacan that we're from. And my grandmother, bless her heart, never let my mother speak Nahuatl or the traditional language of that area because she was afraid that she would be discriminated as adults. So my uncles and my mother, I think only one of my aunts who's passed away was the only one who knew how to speak the indigenous language. And my mother was like afraid of that. She was like, I know that in the US you have to speak English, but here at home, nothing but Spanish. So I think it helped us. But my sister was like, I don't know how confident I feel about just making an English channel. And I was like, just do it. It's going to work out.
I know, especially making Taco Tuesdays. I started making the tacos and everybody loved it. Thank you so much for all the support. I really enjoy reading all those beautiful comments, Carlos.
I love the puffy tacos. I'm a big fan of the puffy tacos.
I love the crispy tacos. And if they're spicy, even better. Even better.
My sister's always saying, like, the spicier the better. But we know that, not everybody likes really spicy food.
Yes. And making the carnitas, if you have a chance and you can make that delicious and Mexican dish of the carnitas de puerco, you're going to really love it. It's an easy recipe. No babysit, like I said in that channel, in the video. You don't need to babysit the carnitas. They come out so crispy and moist from the inside that you're really going to enjoy them. But talking about something else, I have a lot of comments on the masa for tamales. Okay, the comments are this. If I make the masa and my masa doesn't float in the water, what does it mean? Okay, remember, you need to mix for at least 30 minutes. It could be in your stand mixer.
That's its own workout. That's its own workout.
It could be on the stand mixer. It could be a mixer by hand, or you could mix it with your bare hands. 30 minutes. Remember, you need to add enough lard if you're making it with lard, enough vegetable oil if you're making it with vegetable oil, enough coconut oil if you're making it with coconut oil, enough butter. All these recipes, you have them on my channel. There's no excuses.
And I'm a little biased, but if you mix it by hand, your masa will float 99.9% of the time. And my mother used to tell us, if the masa don't float, your tamales are not ready. And I think that's something we learned the hard way. Like, we were so traumatized going like, it didn't float, the tamales didn't float. And it wasn't even that. It's just that if you mix it with a mixer, it's not going to float. If you mix it with a handheld mixer, it's definitely not going to float. But it doesn't mean that the masa is not ready.
It's not ready. Yes, it
My
doesn't. My
sister's only requirement is that you actually go through the mixing for 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
And that you check your consistency and your masa should be fine, even if it doesn't float.
Even if it doesn't float, because I have a lot of people asking
I have Nay saying, hello, Gloria and Carlos.
Hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful. Even if it doesn't float, believe me, your tamales are going to come out fluffy and delicious.
So question number one, sister, was that we get a lot, was this. Did I do something wrong if my masa did not float? And the answer is no.
No.
If you mix by hand, 99.9% of the time, your masa will definitely float in water. If you use a mixer or a handheld mixer, it might not float, but it doesn't mean that your masa is not ready. You just have to be sure you mix it for 30 minutes straight.
And no stopping.
And that's the hard part, I think.
I think that's the hard part, because when you use a stand mixer, you start adding the chicken broth, you start adding the lard, and you see everything that it mixes completely well. You no longer see the lard, you no longer see the chicken broth, and you automatically say, okay, it's ready.
Yeah.
10 minutes and it's ready. No, it has to mix for 30 minutes. Okay. The other second question.
Question number 2 that is most asked.
Question number 2. How many tamales can I get from this recipe? I can't tell you in exact how many tamales. For sure 30. A medium-sized tamal, 30.
So what my sister's saying is basically like, if you make any of the masa recipes that we have that she's made on her channel, that of course we've all been working on, is that the minimum amount of tamales that you should get from every batch is 30.
30.
So if you're making 30 tamales and you have your filling done from like chicken, your green chicken and green salsa, and then your meat and red salsa, you can cut it right down the middle and do half meat,
12 and
half
12.
chicken. But all the time, you're gonna get 30 minimum tamales. If you get less than 30, you put too much of your dough, your masa, in the husk. But if you get more than 30, then more than likely you made them really thin, and that's okay too, because it depends on what kind of balance you want between your filling and the dough that you're putting in.
Yes, and it all depends. A lot of people like thick tamales.
I do.
With a lot of masa, because especially somebody I know,
because it absorbs
he loves
the flavor
just
of the chili.
Eating the masa. I tell him, you're not eating the meat,
I'm not a big fan of pork,
Mm-hmm.
but I love the flavor of the red sauce and pork that it gives the tamal. So I'll eat the masa and I won't eat the pork. So it's just, I like it, so I can't help it.
So, but then there's this tamal that I need to share with you guys. There's a lot of people that call it, in Mexico we call it tamal blanco, a white tamal. In Spanish is a tamal blanco. A tamal blanco is just the masa. You prepare your masa, you add no filling. And you just prepare the masa in your corn husk, you cook it, and when it's done, of course you have meat, or you have meat in adobo, in green adobo, red adobo, and then you just pour it on top of your white tamal.
That's also, well, it's very close, but it depends on how warm you want it. So I would say, like, if we make white tamales, we'll usually have like a filling already made, like of adobo with meat, or a topping, meat topping. And some people even just have it with atole, with a sweet custard on top, and they'll eat it like that.
Or even a sweet drink.
Yeah.
Like the hot chocolate. What's the other
But
one?
if you put a sausage inside the tamal, you have no saving.
You have no saving.
Nobody can save you.
Nobody could save you if you add a sausage inside your tamal.
My sister has run into the occasion where she makes a batch and she's out of her filling because she loves overfilling her tamales, which they're good. But then all she does, she's like, I have to put cheese, I have to put like some jalapeno slices because this is not going to have nothing in it. But you can definitely make your tamales with nothing in them. Just prepare the masa, or the dough as you would call it, on your own, and then just put your filling on the side. Put it on top of it and enjoy.
Yes, because sometimes, Carlos, you get so involved making your tamales and your filling runs out, and you say, oh my God, the carne, the meat and pork and the sauce is done. There's no more sauce. There's no more meat. Okay, and I have cheese in the refrigerator. Okay, pull out the cheese and cheese with some delicious sauce inside. But yet, if you don't have cheese, it could just be a white tamal. Do not add a sausage in there, because they're really going to talk bad about you if you add a sausage.
Latinos, we've had them for that unfortunate run-in where we come into a sausage. That's where
Let me tell you why I came up to the sausage, because my mom made, like 2 years ago or 3 years ago, she decided she was going to make tamales.
And of course, there's 9 of us.
And we said, no, Mom, you're going to make too many tamales and you're by yourself. I'm just going to make 40. Okay, make 40. She was thinking that I'm making 40. So she made 40, but she finished the filling. It ran out. And she said, then I have no cheese. And she saw the sausages in the refrigerator.
For like hot dogs.
And she pulled them out and she added a sausage in the tamal. And everybody started eating, and we were saying, Mom, they're still so delicious.
I don't know who did it, but my brother bit into it and the whole sausage came out. He was like, what is this? And since then, we've been traumatized.
Since then, my mom says, why? She keeps saying, I had no more filling. I had to put something in there. And I said, so why did you put a Winnie in there? And she goes, I had no feelings. So from that point on, we really joke with that. Don't ever add
Look, Nay says that I've done that before, running out of fillings, so I made beans and cheese tamales.
That's even delicious.
That is acceptable.
That's acceptable. Do not add a hot dog in there.
Jasmine says that she doesn't want to help make any tamales, Gloria.
Mira, Jasmine was helping me. You guys don't know, but I'm going to tell you. I sell food on Friday. So on Thursday, I made all tamales with queso and tomatillo sauce. I made pork sauce and red tamales. I made pozole with pork. And my daughter Jasmine, I told her, you need to help me. It's too much for me to package everything and sell it. And she goes, okay, I'm gonna help you. So now the party is going to be here for Christmas. And I tell her, what are we gonna cook? What are we gonna cook for Christmas?
Like, I don't wanna cook.
And she goes, I don't wanna talk, I don't wanna see tamales, I don't wanna see pozole. Let's do something totally different.
Jasmine is saying that you sold all 100 tamales in 1 hour.
We sold out of the tamales. The pork tamales sold out. The tamales with cheese and tomatillo, only 5 were left. 5 tamales out of 100. The pozole, the pozole, we make a big bash of pozole and sold
Completely sold out.
Completely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I'm really hustling. I'm hustling, and I'm trying to, tell people that if I could cook, you guys could cook. And if you come to my channel and you want to make a delicious, even just refried beans, they're on my channel. Go to the playlist. You have all the desserts. You have all the cookies, all the jellos, all the cakes. Everything is made from scratch.
And I think the more important thing for me watching my sister grow has been that everything she cooks is exactly what she's been selling to family members, to neighbors, because at some point she was cooking so much, she's like, I can't eat all this food. So she would take it to her neighbors, and then her neighbors were like, Gloria, are you selling these on weekends, because we want to put in an order? And that's kind of how she started making her own homemade little food business, and now it's expanded to like where her kids work, and they've recommended people there. So it's been like a real eye-opener to see that people really love and respond to the recipes. So the recipes you have on Cooking with Gloria, the tacos, the playlists that are there are the same recipes that my sister's using in order to start a little home business. And it's been going great. It's been growing little by little, but it's been like a real journey for her. So definitely. So let's get back to question number 1 was, if your masa does not float, is it not ready? And the answer is, if you mix with an electric mixer or hand mixer, it's probably not going to float. The key is to mix your masa for 30 minutes, no excuses.
No excuses.
So the second question is, how many tamales will I get from your recipe? So from your recipe on the channel, how many tamales will I get? My sister said 30 minimum.
Yeah. 30.
And if you get less, you're putting a lot more. You're making your tamales really chunky, and that's fine if that's the way you want to make them. But if you get more than 40, then you definitely did not put enough filling on masa,
making them really
or
thin.
you're making them small, which is a good idea too.
Which a good idea if you want more people to enjoy them and taste them.
So minimum 30. The third question is, and we've gotten that in a couple of last videos, is my sister on one of her videos showed all of you how to make your tamales, make your masa, fill them up, seal them up, and then immediately freeze them.
Okay, this is the best part, Carlos. When you make your masa and you make the filling and you have everything organized, and you know something, you're not gonna cook them that day. You're gonna make them 1 week or even 1 month before Christmas. Okay, that's how long the tamal is going to last frozen.
Without losing its flavor.
Without losing the flavor. It could last more months, of course, but on Christmas Day, what you don't want to be thinking, oh, I gotta make these tamales, I want to mix the dough, I gotta...
Because you're already doing so much. You're cleaning. If you're hosting, you're cleaning. You're making sure everything's ready, that you're ready. The last thing you want to think of is cooking on the actual day where everybody's coming.
Yes, so that's why I made that video where I show you, make them ahead of time, put them in the corn husk, roll them up in the paper. In the paper, you could buy it at Smart and Final. There comes little boxes with a bunch of pieces of paper that you could roll them in there, and I showed you what kind of paper I buy. Put them in Ziplocs, label it, put the date, and say carne de puerco, beef red sauce, pork red sauce, pork green sauce, cheese with jalapenos, or cheese and tomato sauce. You decide, but label. Put it in the freezer, leave them there. And on the day that you're going to enjoy them, you don't have to throw them away. You don't have to put them out and wait 3-4 hours for them to defrost. No, as soon as you take them out of the freezer, put them in your
vapor.
In your vapor. Put them in there, stand them up, cover them, and then just cook them for 1 hour. Put your timer. There's no need to be opening and closing open. No, put a timer to 60 minutes. After the 60 minutes, turn it off and just let it rest for at least 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, you are ready to enjoy them. Open them and start taking them out. And you're going to know that they're ready because once you open the corn husk, they're just going to peel away, Carlos.
So
they're not going to be sticky.
The way we do our tamales here at home, whether they're the boiled masa, whether it's the chorizo masa, whether it's the spinach masa, or whether it's the traditional corn or the ones that you buy from a bag, the maseca tamales, the way we prepare them is that when they're ready, the masa should peel off of the husk. And that's when you know that the tamal is done, that you're done, there's nothing more to do. So to recap, the question is, how do you have to thaw your tamales if you freeze them like my sister taught you on the video? And the answer is no. As soon as you take them from your fridge, you put them onto your pot, your steamer pot, and then you just cook them for 60 minutes, for an hour. And after the hour, turn it off, leave it on the actual stove covered for at least 10 to 15 minutes. And then go check a tamal and it should peel right off because you did everything right.
Yes, but let me tell you, if the timer's off 60 minutes and you open it and you take a tamal out, they're not going to peel away easy. They're still going to be sticky. Because
they're still tender. They haven't gained their form.
Yes.
Because they start solidifying when they start cooling, because before that, they just have all that vapor and heat running through them, including the air that you've incorporated into the masa as you've been mixing. And if you've been mixing by hand, you did a great job. It is a bit of a workout.
Yes.
30 minutes, but it's well worth it if you want quality, tasteful tamales.
And for the masa to flow.
So if you're here now or if you're watching this video later, thank you so much for being here with Cooking with Gloria. We're not even leaving yet, but thank you for being here. Make sure you give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if this is the first time you're here. And leave a comment if you see this video after, because we'd love to do a few more coffee times on the weekend and just answer a couple of your questions then.
I love having you guys here. I love reading all those beautiful messages, because behind this camera, I have a beautiful family. And I want to say, without your help, Cooking with Gloria wouldn't be growing. Thank you so much for all your support. But those questions come again and again and again. And I told my brother, let's go live and let's explain how we make the masa.
And then the final question that we get a lot about the masa specifically is, what if I use this oil? Or what if I use that oil? Okay, and if you are... I would recommend that you do your tamales the way my sister shows you. Pick the best masa recipe that you like, that you think would fit what you're making, because we have rice masa, so that's perfect for sweet tamales, any kind of sweet tamal. You have the traditional corn masa, which is for regular tamales, hearty tamales that are puffy and tasteful. So pick the best recipe that works for you and follow it as the directions tell you. After you make it and you see your consistency, you see your results, then try it your way. And if they turn out great, let us know.
And you could even add any kind of topping. That's the best part, Carlos. If you like spicy, well, you add it spicy. If you don't like too spicy, well, you make it your own. You make your own recipe, Carlos. That's the best part.
I'm somebody that needs to try something first, so I would say try one of the recipes first to make your masa. Make them and then decide. Like, okay. So if this is, we've had people here on the channel that are like, I've never made tamales. I made tamales for, family or friends or coworkers. They all loved them. And it's like, okay, so now that you know that you made something good and that you like it, tweak it, make it your own. Make it the way grandma finished making it. Make it the way your mom finished making it. Or your dad, because there's a lot of gentlemen out there, including myself, that we know how to cook.
I know.
And we have good sazon, so why not?
And you know something? From one recipe, you could just take little bowls, 4 or 5, separate your masa, and then decide, this is going to be with chicken in tomatillo sauce. Do 5 or 6, and then make the other bowl that you have. You separate your masa in 5s, so put 6 of tomatillo and cheese, or tomatillo and chicken, or pork,
Yeah,
and even a veggie one.
the only reason you would want to make double your recipe is if you're making a huge batch. 30 is more than enough for like a family of 3.
No,
If
a family of 6.
okay,
family
and
of
if
6.
you know, because we eat well, but
We eat it.
but if you guys are decent people and have one tamal in a party and
One
cook
or
for
two
you,
tamales.
I salute you. But we are like 2 or 3 tamales at each sitting, so I'm like, if you want to double the recipe, then because you're going to a party, because you're hosting, because you're doing, if you're doing a potluck or you're doing something just for your family, 30 is enough.
30
I think
is
more
enough.
than enough.
Yeah, you don't want to overcook the tamales. Like, just say that it's 4 in the family, and you make 30 tamales, and you cook the 30 tamales, and you're not gonna finish them. So what are you gonna do with the rest? You're gonna put them in the refrigerator, or you're gonna freeze them. I do not recommend for you to freeze them after you have cooked them,
Oh yeah, that's true.
because all those flavors are really going to go out of the window, like I say.
But it is a learning experience, so do what works for you. We found that in our home, if we have traditional tamales, corn tamales from corn flour, corn masa, what happens is that once we cook them, once we steam them, and we have that rich flavor, the oils that came out, the fat that came out from the recipe, and we freeze them, the flavor just dies. You're literally eating something with salt. You can barely taste any chili, and it's probably just the salt that you're tasting. So we don't recommend freezing them after you've cooked them.
No, that's why the good thing to do is that if you're making 30 tamales and you're not going to finish them, just make 15. It only takes 60 minutes to cook the other batch.
My sister is so quick with that. She'll make a batch of 30, and she'll do like 15 here, 15 here, and mix them and be like, when I'm ready, I'll do these 15, and if they finish, I'll do the other batch because I don't want to throw my tamales away.
No, it's too much work. Too much work when you make tamales. Well, those are the 5 questions, right,
So
Carlos?
question number 1, in order to do a recap, or question number 1 was, I forgot what the question was. The question
if
was,
it doesn't float.
if your masa does not float, is it still good for you to use in tamales? And the answer is yes, as long as you have mixed your masa for 30 minutes, no excuses.
Second, number 2.
Number 2 is how many tamales will I get
One batch.
from one batch from your recipes on the channel at Cooking with Gloria? It'll be 30 minimum.
Number 3.
If I freeze my tamales, do I need to thaw them on top of my counter and then put them into my pot and steam them? The answer is no. You want to take them directly from your freezer into your pot, steam them for 1 hour,
and then they're done.
Then turn off your heat and then just let them sit for 10 to 15 minutes. You know that the tamales are ready because when you open the husk, the masa will just come right off. You won't have to like peel it or scrape it off of your tamal. It should come off clean. And then the last one, can I change the recipe? Of course you can. But my personal recommendation is do the recipe as they show it here on the channel, and after you see the results, go ahead and do what you think is best.
Yes,
and then let us know.
Add any kind of filling. Just don't add a weenie in there.
JP says he's a big fan of your videos, Gloria.
Hello. Thank you so much,
so
my
if
friend.
you're here or if you're watching this video later, make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave us a comment because we are doing our best. My sister's doing her best to show you recipes that she makes here at home for the family.
That we enjoy.
And that she's starting a business with. And, you know, they're the exact same recipe and people are responding really positively to her home food business. So we highly recommend that you try some of these recipes yourself.
And you're going to love them. Let me tell you, you're going to love them because if you're coming back to make this Mexican food, because sometimes you leave it behind and you just say, oh, it's too much work. And then you come back and you say, the holidays are coming. This is the first time I'm making tamales, or this is the first time I'm making pozole. It's easy. Just come to my channel, go to the playlist, and you'll have so many different kind of recipes that you could make, and they're easy to make with ingredients that you could find in any supermarket, Carlos.
Yeah, and like the traditional part, the tradition of your cooking, I think starts with you. My sister was telling me how when my mom, I'm like, what is your first memories of cooking? And she's like, I used to get a stool, I used to stand on top of the counter and watch my mom and my eldest sister making the tamal, and my mom would be like, make sure that you the half hour, mixing the
Mixing by
masa, because,
hand.
and then my mom would get a glass and she would drop it in water, and if it didn't float, it wasn't ready, because when you mix by hand, your masa should float. Period.
You
Your
incorporate more air. You incorporate more
Yeah.
air to the masa. But I tell Carlos, every time I make like the pasta I made, the soup I made, it transports me to those moments of my childhood. And that's when I say, oh my God, I am so lucky. I am so lucky that my mom took her time to show me these delicious and amazing recipes. When I make these tamales, I always recall my mother saying, get a cup of water, add a little piece of the dough, of the masa. If it doesn't flow, Gloria, you continue mixing.
And it's the same thing for our
All
flour.
my sisters,
It's the
all
same
my
thing for our
family.
flour tortillas, or even for our handmade tortillas on the channel. If they do not puff up, then you didn't mix that tortilla mixture correctly. So it's quite a
For the
quite a
flour
thing.
tortilla, I remember my mom making the flour tortilla from scratch, and she would make these big ones, and they would get all fluffy and delicious. And I remember
they would stay soft.
and they would stay so soft that you could bend them and make tacos and then open it again. And I remember my mom letting the dough rest, making the little balls, and I would say, oh my God, when are the flour tortillas going to be ready, And now as an adult, I say, oh my God, that was a lot of work, Carlos. My mom showed us from scratch how to make all these delicious recipes, especially the cakes. I know that a lot of you guys, here, it's easier to just go to the supermarket and buy a little box of the cake mix. But then I go back and think, how much sugar, how much preservatives they have, how much salt. And then you come down and you say, if you could do it from scratch, why not do it from scratch, Carlos? You add your all-purpose flour, your baking powder, your pinch of salt, your sugar. When I say this, I really truly say it because you have control of the salt that your family's intaking.
And the type of salt.
And you have control of the sugar, brother.
Yes.
Those two are so important. We're not getting any younger. So every time I make a recipe, making a cake, making dough, I always keep in mind how my mother used to make it. Because I remember when I was a child, okay, mix. We're going to make the flour tortillas. I used to make them this small, crooked, but if they would get fluffy, my mom would be so proud of me saying, oh my God, one of these days you are ready to get married. Right? My mom used to always say that. Oh, your flour tortillas are so fluffy. They puffed up. You are ready to get married, right?
It's so funny, but I'm telling my sister, it's so good to see a lot of people getting reconnected with some of these foods from their past. It's humbling to see them. They're like, oh, my grandma used to make them like this, but she would add this, and we went ahead and used a recipe and then added that. And they made that recipe back into what they remember it was. And I think that's the best thing you can do is give people a recipe and then have them make it their own.
Make it their own.
But I keep advocating, do it the way we show you the first time, and then do whatever you want with it, because then you'll already know, if I do it this way that Gloria showed me, they're going to turn out like this. But if my grandma or my mom used to put a little bit of paprika, they used to put a little bit of salsa here, or a little bit of, whatever it is, then do it the second time, because you're not going to miss. They're going to come out exactly the same way.
Yes, they're going to come out fluffy and delicious. And that's the best part, Carlos, making that recipe your own.
And reacquainting yourself or creating new traditions with your family. My mother took the time to teach each one of us to make a single meal. So we all know how to make specifically one very traditional Mexican meal. My sisters are masters of the Mexican kitchen, but at least me and my brothers, we know how to make something really well. I laugh and I tell them, I know how to make eggs like you wouldn't believe. Scrambled with cheese, over easy. Chilaquiles are my favorite, and the salsa for enchiladas. I love enchiladas. But I'm it's so nice to see people getting reacquainted, making recipes their own, because they're exactly what we were taught. They're exactly what my sister's business is now. The exact same recipe you make is what she's making and selling, and other people are willing to pay good money for it.
And they're loving the recipe.
They can see the quality and they can see the effort that's put into it.
Yes, and the most important is always have clean hands. I always say my apron's on, my hands are clean, because that's the best part, Carlos. You wanna know that they're cooking, especially if you're just cooking for your family. If you're cooking to sell, of course, you're gonna put some gloves on and make this delicious, amazing food. But if you're making for your family, your apron should be on and your hands should be clean. That's so important, Carlos.
Yes, definitely. It says it's so great to see you back and recovered in action. I'm looking forward to more videos. As you know, early in the year, my sister had thyroid problems, so she had surgery. Recently, she just got over COVID. The whole family got it. Thankfully,
everybody.
We're all vaccinated, so it wasn't as bad or as severe as it could have been. But yeah, we're getting to the end of the year and we're like, we can't wait to see what you guys are making because it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's inspiring because I even want to ask you guys, what are you guys cooking for Christmas? What are you guys cooking for New Year's?
Tell me.
I need to know. I really need to know, because if you're making the carnitas, there's no babysitting, okay? If you're making carnitas.
Or personally, the pupusas of spinach and cheese, they're so good. Oh my
God, and so healthy too.
If you, I love, my sister of course is married to someone from El Salvador. Mm-hmm. So her mother-in-law taught her how to make that part of the Latino community, the Latino tradition or cuisine, so she knows how to make that food as well. And it's so delicious.
Delicious.
My father's God. Like, I went down the street to this shop and I bought a pupusa and it didn't taste the same as yours. And we've had several people say, like, it tastes so good. Like, where did you buy them? They think we bought them, and no, they definitely don't look like the OG traditional pupusas from El Salvador, but they're just as delicious, and you should definitely try them.
And you have those recipes on my channel. You have them from scratch, how to make a pupusa, and of course how to make the curtido, Carlos, because you have to enjoy a pupusa with a delicious curtido,
which is the topping, the cabbage,
the pickled cabbage,
and then the salsa that is just like a tomato salsa that is really good. It's mild, but it really complements
the pupusa.
And of course, we here at this house, if you've been here in Cooking with Gloria, you know that we love the lemonades, the aguas frescas as we call them in Spanish. We make them from everything, from tomato, from squash, from zucchini.
And you're gonna be thinking, where is she getting all these lemonades, all this agua frescas?
From her garden, believe it or not.
From my small garden. And other than that, we enjoy the aguas frescas all year round. All year round. And when I say all year round, yes, we do. Even in winter, I am making my lemonades.
My sister has passion fruit. She has dragon fruit. She has mangoes. She has grapefruit. She has
lemons,
avocados, lemons, limes.
When it's time of zucchinis, I have zucchinis.
She has star fruit.
Oh my God.
So she has grapes, believe it or not, growing on the side of her house. We're like, if you want any fruit, you definitely have to go to Gloria's house because she has fruits, everything.
Yeah. We have everything in a very small garden.
Thankfully, the weather here in Southern California is such that it really does lend itself for these tropical, fruits and veggies to grow. So you'll see, if you like the Mexican horchata, the Salvadorian horchata, which is so nutty in flavor and delicious. We also have various other lemonades and cold drinks that we make here on the channel. We call them lemonades, but in Spanish we just call them agua fresca.
Agua fresca.
That we think you're gonna love as well.
Let me tell you, my mom, when we were small, my mom used to make pink lemonade. And we always say, Mom, are you making the pink lemonade?
And in summer, it was perfect.
Oh my God, in summer it was perfect. We used to say pink lemonade. We never knew that it was tomato lemonade. We never knew. My mom
never questioned it.
We never questioned it because she would say, we're having to drink pink lemonade. Agua fresca, de limón, rosada. And we would say, oh, the pink lemonade, pink lemonade. No, it was made out of tomato.
And even our neighbors didn't know that it was that, because of course she wouldn't let the seeds go in there.
No.
But our neighbors, as kids, they were like, oh, what are you guys drinking? And we'd be like, oh,
pink lemonade.
Pink lemonade. And they all get it. We're like, it tastes good. Like, what is it? Like, what is it made of? And me and my sister would be like, I think strawberries, because we thought it was strawberries, but no, pink it was lemonade. Tomato.
It was tomato lemonade.
So don't knock it till you try it.
Yes. And then don't forget to add the little pinch of salt, Carlos, to the lemonades.
People ask that question as well. Question number 4. people sometimes ask why we add a pinch of salt, and
To our
It's
aguas
for-
frescas.
we would say it's various reasons, because of course to us, like our grandma, our mom always said, put a pinch of salt in order to remove some of that acidity, and then you can
And it
taste
lifts
more
the
of the flavor of the
fruits.
actual fruits. But if you think about it, any kind of hydration drink has salt in it in order for it to enter your
Just a
system
little
and
pinch.
hydrate you. So maybe that's also part of it. We don't know, but our tradition is a pinch of salt to pick the flavors up and reduce the acidity of the drink.
Yes.
So I think we talked enough, sister. I think we answered the questions. I hope that you got some of your answers.
I don't know if they're leaving messages. What are you guys cooking for Christmas? I am really want to
We
know.
want to know. You can leave us a message in
I
the
know if
video
you're
and
here
let us know what you're
after.
doing. If you come to this video after, make sure you give us that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. A lot of you, 80% of you that are here and keep coming back, haven't subscribed yet. It would help us a lot to reach people who are also into Mexican or Salvadorian traditional cuisine.
Yes. Thank you so much for all your support.
Wait,
We
it's
want to
following me?
say bye. We want
It's
to
following
say
me.
it's following you. Let me make the sign.
Done.
Now it's following me. I want to say thank you so much for being part of my family. Thank you so much for praying after my surgery. And of course, thank you because only with you guys, Cooking with Gloria will continue growing. Happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, and I hope to see you before Christmas, and I hope to see you before New Year's. I love you guys. Remember, peace and love. I love you guys. Good night. Bye-bye.